Hi, welcome to the Drop Bag Podcast. This is Kelly. I am invisible today, at least on YouTube. For some reason, my video is not working, but I'm really excited because we have Justyna Wilson here with us today, and we're really excited to talk with her. Megan's gonna kind of run the show since because we can see her face, so she'll do a better job of communicating. But just to give everybody a heads up on Justyna, um, Justyna has been running for a really long time. If you check her out in Ultra Sign Up, you will just see race after race after race. She's a racer. And I mean, just to name a few, earlier this year, she did the Tiger Claw 50K, Falling Water 100K, and the Bull Run in April, the 50 miler, I believe. Was that the 50 miler or the 50K?
50 miler, yes.
50 miler. Okay. So she has just a a ton of very impressive races and results, and so we're really excited to talk to her. I'm especially excited to talk to Justyna because she is a masters runner, and I really wanna pick her brain on what she does to keep doing well in this long distance field and, to see some of the tips and tricks she can give us as a really experienced runner. But I'll go ahead and shoot it over to Megan, who's gonna get us started.
Yeah. Hey guys. Um, so I guess we usually start off the podcast with a drop bag item. So something that has benefited you, that you would probably throw in your drop bag during a race, something that you really rely on during races. So we'll start with that, Justina. Do you have anything in mind?
Yes. Not too often I utilize drawbacks only for the longest runs, and if I don't really have crew. If I have crew, I just depend on them. However, if I have to drop bags, I always make sure that I have two things: a headlamp, since it happened for me in the past that I drowned my headlamp going through a very deep creek, and it wasn't working for me at night, and I had to pretty much go without any light. It was shining just a little bit, so I can see probably 1 yard ahead of me, but that's all. And that was a very bad experience. So I always make sure
Mhm.
I have headlamps. If I have to drop it at every single place with drop bags, that's what I'm gonna do. But also, with years of running, I discovered that I haven't been fueling enough, and I started using a lot of carbs. So I always make sure I have a lot of gels. In the past, I never cared what type of gels I have, as long as they give me some, some uh, calories. But I discovered the carb fuel. It's this name, yeah, carb fuel, and it gives 50 grams of calories, so 50 grams of carbs, which is yep. Uh, so it's 200 calories, so 50 grams of carbs. Yeah. So it's enough. If I take one or two, my goal is to take 2 per hour. It really keeps my energy up. So I always make sure now that I have a lot of gels to cover me for entire race. So
Wow.
yeah.
No, that's yeah, it's important. So one with the let's I want to hit the headlamp. Is there a specific headlamp that you really enjoy? Are you
Yes.
like a
I used to use Petzl. However, they were not. I had two different ones. They were not giving me um, too much time. So usually, I mean, in the beginning, 2.5 hours, and with time, the amount of the time decreased to maybe 1 hour. So I had to change batteries after 1 hour. So it wasn't enough, and illumination wasn't good as well. So I switched to Phoenix, and it's 1600 looms, and it lasts. So even if it's on high, I get 6 hours. On medium, 12 hours, and on a low, 48. So it's pretty good, and it really lasts entire night. So I can run without changing batteries for entire night, but usually I will change. So, and it's just excellent. So I stick to it with this type of
That's a good
headlamp.
one. Yeah, I have a Petzl, but I'm newer to the longer races. I've only done a 100 so far. So I have a second 100 coming up, Vermont, which we're going to talk about. That's why you're here. So we'll see how it does there, but I'm probably going to pick up a second because I think I'm that's my worst fear, what you experienced where you lose one and then you have like you're stuck and you don't know what to do because you don't have a light. And that's scary in the middle of the night, especially if you don't have crew or pacers or like nobody's around you. I can imagine that was a tough experience for you.
Yep, it was quite tough, especially that it was, yes, in the middle of the night, in the middle of a forest, and it was we had a big storm with thunders. I was slipping and sliding. I made a couple of wrong turns. It cost me pretty much a good 1 hour. I lost 1 hour, just going back and forth trying to find the way. So,
Yeah.
yeah, and I was able
Yep.
to grab another lamp at the next aid station. However, that section, well, till I could actually get a new lamp, it was almost 20 miles. So, so
What
without
race?
actually, that was
What ra
Eastern States 2 years ago.
Oh,
So it was
wow.
100 miler. So at mile 80, I was able to pick up a headlamp and a pacer. So by that time,
Uh,
I was pretty much spent. So I was just going, but I didn't see sense. And at mile 93 at that race, I just sat down in a chair and I thought, you know what? I don't want to go any farther. I am done. So I was just sitting there for a half hour. And then I thought, you know what? Can I have some coffee? Somebody brought me coffee. And I don't know, these couple of sips made such difference. I just stood up and I said to my pacer, like, you know what, let's go. It's only 10 miles because I was one of three. And yeah, I was able to finish and still come with the first three females, which at that time, I didn't really care. I was like, I
yeah,
don't even care if I finish or not. But I finished and then I was so happy because I always have regrets the next day. If I don't do something, the
mm,
next, after I sleep, after I'm rested, I thought, "Wow, I should have done this, I should have done
mm.
that."
You, like,
So I'm good.
replay all
Yes,
of the things. Yeah.
it's all mental, especially at the end of a race, at the end of a activity when you are so, worn out. It's all in your head, so
Yep. Wow.
Wow, that's
Well, I'm glad you made it through
amazing
that.
that you were
Yeah.
able to finish, and
lesson
I just
learned.
think yeah, it'd be exhausting without a light. That's my number one fear as well. I always put
Mhm,
in lots of lights, extra lights in drop bags, and I carry extra
mhm.
lights just because I have heard stories like that, and that's like that's a nightmare.
Yeah, that's now it's making me want to I'm probably so I have a waist lamp too. Do you use a waist lamp by any chance,
No,
Justyna?
I haven't tried one. I see more and more of them on market, and I thought, wow, that would be a nice thing to try. Just have it maybe as a backup or as an addition to a regular headlamp. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I have that, and I think I'll probably use that for Vermont coming up, since your experience with Vermont, in the beginning, did you use a headlamp to start off the
I
race?
don't really remember if I used one. I
Yeah,
don't think I did. It got bright
yeah.
quite fast. So and we started on a road. So the long sections of roads, rolling hills, and but it's on the road, so you probably will not need one.
Mhm.
And there is always somebody that has one, and you just have to follow
The pace.
people.
Yeah, well, that's good. Yeah, and then, I mean, the high carb stuff, that is very much the rage nowadays. I feel like that's very new in the sport, coming out with these, like, ultra high carb gels or powders or anything. I mean, it shows how much the sport is advancing too, because we realize as athletes how important those carbs are during the race. And when you start using them and start fueling up on them and you get a lot of them, you realize how much better you feel. And I don't know if you're experiencing that with your gels that you're trying now, because I just started with that's actually my drop bag item is the Tailwind high carb. Have you seen that? The Tailwind
Thank
high carb packets? And so I've tried them and I love them. And it's a great way to get those carbs in, just like those gels.
So, Megan, your the Tailwind is a powder? The Tailwind
The
high carb? Okay.
powder. Yeah, not a
And
gel.
Justina, you said that you use Carbs, that brand, it's called Carb?
Carb Fuel. Yeah, so,
Okay, Carb Fuel.
actually, I just started using, this one, and I tried it on, longer training runs, and it's amazing because it packs, 50 grams, of carbs, and which is 200 calories in one gel, and it's not
Mhm.
as sticky as Stingers. So I used to use Stingers, but they're just so sticky, and then eventually you just get tired of them. This one is more liquidy, and it just goes down, like, right away, and you can just take a sip of water. It's just awesome. So they have the original one, and then with caffeine. And the thing is that the taste is so delicate. You don't It doesn't bother you. So I can see myself using it for longer races. So I tried at training runs, and I'm gonna use it at Eastern States next month. But basically, yeah, the high carbs. I never really cared about how much I eat. I always told myself, "Oh, I just gotta keep eating at those aid stations, keep eating." I could never really eat too much. I had to force myself, especially at the end of the races. But just reading about the studies, going through all this, and I thought, okay, let me try. And the bull run, that was the 50 miler. That was the first time that I tried to keep 75 to 100 grams of carbs every hour. And it wasn't I wasn't doing this every hour, but try to at least do 50 to 75. And I felt awesome for an entire 50 miles. So just I've never felt great from the beginning to the end. So then I did the 100K, which was the Falling Water at West Virginia. Same thing.
Mhm.
Felt strong from the end, from the beginning to the end. And then at Old Dominion, which was a 100 miler, I did the same thing. And the only time that I was really worn out and slowed down was pretty much maybe last 2 miles, when I was like, I was walking much more. I was like, but still, for almost
Mhm.
entire race, I was feeling strong. So it must be working. I think high carbs during your activity, that's a key.
Well, this is
That's amazing.
incredible because you've been running for so long
Mhm.
and can really probably see that. I mean, you've been running really good for a
Okay.
long time. So to kind of at this point in your running career to, you know, take advantage of maybe kind of some new ideas is really impressive. And I'm excited to see how it shows up for you. Like, even just feeling better in a race goes a long way and hopefully helps you keep, making and meeting new goals, even though you've been running for a long time.
Yeah, so big 50 is coming up. So, I'm not gonna be getting faster, but I'm thinking, well, in the new age group, maybe I'm gonna be on the faster end in the new age group. So,
You never know.
so
The carbs might make you faster.
yeah, taking carbs, and I'm gonna be all
Mhm.
happy for
Yeah.
another decade till I get to a new age group.
That's awesome. Kelly, how about you? Do you have a drop bag item?
Oh, well, I'm injured right now, Justina, so I've been
Hmm.
being a big baby, and I've been swimming a lot. I did get some new goggles, so that made me happy this week. I guess
Mhm.
that will be my drop bag item, like, if you're stuck swimming, make sure you have some decent equipment.
Goggles.
That's
That's
awesome.
good.
That's awesome. I think swimming is great, and that's a great way to cross train, especially when you injured, or if you have to cut your miles because of the leg injury, and if you can do any type of cardio that is not running. So swimming is
Well,
great.
yeah, hey, let's talk about that for just a second, Justina, since, maybe you have some experience with this as well. Do you have any injuries? I know that you kind of during your more track and field days and maybe like your 5K and 10K years, you had some injuries that finally pushed you to get onto the trail and kind of get off of the roads. But maybe more recently, have you had any injuries? And if not, do you cross train? Do you do things in the gym or just things to keep injuries away?
Mhm. So yeah, 4 years ago, I had surgery on my foot. So it was to remove my bunion, but it wasn't just bunion. The bone was growing in a wrong, with the wrong angle. So they had to kind of break the bone, cut the piece, realign, shave all the other stuff, and so I pretty much couldn't run for a 3 to 4 months. I was trying to swim, and I really started back then to do a lot of weightlifting. So I was more bulked up, and I felt awesome. So I continued to lift, and not as much as I did back then. And I always tell myself I should lift more because I truly feel stronger, and I think that translates to running better. But yeah, I try to cross train, and whenever I can, I swim. I ride a stationary bike and lift weights. But yeah, I
Mhm.
do happen to get injured, and the latest injury I don't get injured too often, but the last one was a year ago with a plantar fasciitis, which pretty much I had it for a good 4 to 5 months, and I was trying to roll and do a lot, and finally it went away, and I don't have any injuries, but those aches and pains when I get up, I think it just comes with age. I just get up and these aches and pains, it takes forever to get up, but with time, it just, during the day I feel better, so how about you?
Yeah, well, Kelly, so I actually we were both that's why we asked you about injuries. So
Mhm,
the past, I think 1 or 2 of our episodes, we've mentioned injuries and how Kelly and I are both coming along in our injury recovery, if you will. But I did a 100K couple weeks ago, and I went into it with a little bit of a calf strain. I had done it doing some speedier miles. I felt it I felt it right when I did it, and it was a couple days before the race. So I went into that race and then made it just significantly worse. So I've just been on the recovery from some calf. I get a lot of calf related injuries. Well, I have a history with some compartment syndrome stuff. In I had 2 surgeries on my calves for that. So I've just kind of dealt with sort of lower extremity, like knee below the knee sort of like weirdness for a majority of my running career so far. They come and go, but this hasn't been so bad, and I'm pretty much back to running. I did a run actually right before this, my longest since that 100K. So I did 18 to make
Woo!
sure that I can still do like a chunk before Vermont comes up because that's a very big worry for me. So to be able to go out there and do 18 just this morning gave me a little bit of a confidence boost coming into Vermont, which is in 2 weeks. So at least I know that
Yeah, that's awesome, Megan. Good job.
little bit.
And
So and the calf
no
felt
pain?
fine. So
Okay.
nope, nothing. Literally, like I didn't even I went with a buddy of mine, Chris. So we were just chatting the whole time back and forth, and we were most of the way through, and you just realize you're like, "Oh wow, I haven't even thought about it." Like I
Uh,
wasn't even because it at no point in time did it bother me or anything. So it was definitely a confidence boost
Yay,
that maybe I
good
can get
news.
through. Maybe I can get through Vermont unscathed. Maybe. We'll see.
Awesome.
Um, yeah, yeah. So that's where I am with injuries and stuff. But um, do we want to do a while on the run, Kelly?
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, let's do a while on the run.
Yeah, I'll do my wow on the swim.
Okay. What you got?
But let's let Justina start. Do you have
Oh,
a this week while running story?
so I didn't run in any interesting places this week, but an interesting thing, I just finally lost my nail, my of the toe, large toe, which
no.
for since Old Dominion, it's been lingering there, and finally I lost it. So, but another thing is I've been utilizing my treadmill on those very very hot days to actually use some heat because it's been very hot in PA recently, but also using the treadmill, uphill treadmill. I'm kind of killing two birds with one stone. So I have iFit app, so I can actually run. I can see on the screen. There's beautiful places. So this past week I did a run in Croatia, St. John's Fortress with Tommy Reeves, who is just excellent. He's a PT, he's very well known, and his workouts are just excellent. So even though I don't feel like going up the hill, I just with him, just for the, and that was an hour and a half long run. I did probably like 300 feet elevation gain. So I just get my treadmill up and continued for an hour and a half. So I make myself do those workouts. I thought, well, you gotta push
Yeah.
yourself. So, and especially, if I am doing something fun at the same time, like being on the treadmill, seeing all those beautiful places, um, then, then it's much easier.
That's great. I actually have the Nordic Track, the iFit
Yes,
treadmill as
Nordic
well.
truck.
So
Yep.
I do I love it. I keep telling people it's great. I Tommy Ribs is great to run with because he usually talks about the history
Yes.
of places, and he really gets in depth with the history, and so it's one, it's fascinating, and, but you get to go to really cool places and learn the history of the places that you're running in on the screen in front of you, which is really cool. But is that where you do a lot of your elevation training
Yes,
on the
so
treadmill?
yep, yes, because I don't really have too many places that are close by to me. I go to Baldpate Mountain in Jersey, which is, I mean, it's only at 20 minutes away from me. I live in PA, but I just go across there. Delaware River, and I'm there. So I can kind of be intentional with running there, pick the trails that have more elevation and repeat some of them. So I can in 20 miles I can do 3,500, but I do have to repeat those trails. So other
Yeah.
than that, I can drive to like Valley Forge National Park, and then in the back there is so-called Mount Misery and Mount Joy, with a lot of elevation, but not too many places around me, which is I always think
Mm,
about, maybe moving somewhere. So whenever I go to a race and I love it there, like, oh, this is the new place. This is where I should move.
mhm,
Virginia is
mhm,
beautiful. Then I go to West Virginia. Oh, this is a new place. I just went to Washington State and I loved running there. I thought, oh, maybe here. I love it here. I love everywhere. So, so yeah. But yeah,
I was actually curious. I was curious about where you lived now because I was looking at some of your history of some of your races, and I saw a lot of East Coast. I saw like some PA and West Virginia and Virginia, and then I also saw some Washington ones up there. So I was like, I wonder like what side she's on. But okay, so you're in PA now.
yes, I've been in Pennsylvania. It's just that I love to travel to
Mm,
to different
yeah.
states, and I try to find a race that I can run.
Mhm,
Since I'm going to visit anyway, let me just run a race. But yeah, I love West Coast. I love Colorado. I love Utah. It's great. So maybe
mhm.
someday I will just go there and stay there. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Um, Okay, so that's our and the toenail thing. Is that common for you still? So you're a
Yeah.
very, very experienced runner. So in my brain, I'm almost like, well, she's probably over that stage where she loses toenails, but that's not the case, right?
No, you're gonna be losing them every so often, yes, and, I don't know what happened this time. I think the shoe was squeezing me a tiny bit. By the time I finished, my toe was completely swollen, probably swollen for 5 days. I was trying to poke it around with, sharp sharp things just to get the fluid out, but it was, like, double sized, and then finally it felt like, "Ah, I know what's gonna happen, the toenail, another one." So, I think once every other year, I lose a toenail,
Yeah.
maybe more frequently, but yeah. I do.
Yeah.
So age probably doesn't have anything to do,
Well, you know,
you're
it's
gonna be
something that
looking, but so my toes
something
don't
that
look
goes
good. Yep, and I think that the toes are just not gonna with time, they look worse and worse. So in general, um, I don't wear sandals too often. I try to cover my toenails because they just look ugly.
yeah,
So I don't know
they're
if
just
if
ugly,
you
and
have the
then
same problem. My toes
oh,
are
same problem,
terrible. Even
same
though I
problem. I've gotten to the point where because because I'll try to paint it. I'll try to paint them to make them look better,
yeah.
even though they're like all like I'll lose them and stuff. And so like this is silly to paint them, but at the same time, like maybe if I paint them, it'll look better. But there are toenails that are completely gone. So I'll just be like painting my skin. Like I just like pretend there's a nail there and just like paint on a pretend toenail to try to make it look better.
I know, I did
But
just buy so normally I wear Birkenstocks a lot with, like, open toes, and finally I just bought the ones that are, like, the covered toe because 'cause I'm like, "I really shouldn't be showing these to anybody. Nobody needs to see my poor toes at this point."
yeah. Oh, it's too funny. Okay, so lesson of that is that we will always be losing toenails for the rest of our
Most
running career.
likely.
Ah, okay. Oh, okay. Well, I got that to look forward to. So, what do you got for us, Kelly? What'd you got during swimming?
Okay, this week while swimming, which was really fun. I mean, we had so many entertaining running things going on with, the under 4-minute mile attempt and Western States, like, there was just so much going on in the running community, and I just felt so inspired, and fortunately, I was stuck in the pool, which the problem in the pool is that I just can't push myself quite as hard as I can running, and I don't know why. I think I just get kinda bored or kind of tired of it. I'm in a lap pool, so the scenery is not changing. But, I had my normal swimming routine is to warm up for 20 minutes of just swimming, and then I'll do something more difficult. And on one particular day, I was like, "Okay, I'll do 3 sets of a 250 meter hard push." And by the end of it and I was so inspired by all the running, I did a whole 'nother set, so I was really proud of myself for pushing in the swimming pool, but I will say that I have almost all of my toenails right now. I'm only missing 1 toenail, and
Oh,
it's because I'm not running,
it's
and I just thought the other day, I'm like, "I
good.
think I might be able to go get a pedicure." Like, I have enough toenails for somebody to paint,
Wow.
and
Envious.
yeah, I know. It was weird. It was weird to look down and realize I have mostly all of my toenails. But, I did wanna give a shout out to trail racing over Texas. So, Justina, Megan and I are both in Texas,
Mhm.
and I had a race coming up in, August, and I'm realizing as my injury continues that I'm not going to be able to run my August race, and so and I had actually won this race. So last year I won the race, and as a surprise, you get to pick another race to do, and so I just picked the same race. I was gonna do the same race again. And I emailed the race director, and he let me defer to next year instead of missing out this year, and I just thought that was so kind. Like, he didn't have to do that, but he let me use my prize for 2026 instead of 2025, and I just wanted to give Trot is a trail racing company here, it's trail racing over Texas, and just wanted to give them a shout out and a thank you for being understanding of an old lady going through an injury.
Not old
Really
lady,
great.
not old lady. Ever, don't ever consider yourself old lady. No.
No, not in this sport.
Alright,
In this
what do
sport
we say, Justina? What do I I'm just an aging runner?
No, it makes me laugh. We all are aging, even when we're 20, 30, 60.
Yep.
Everybody's aging.
Mhm.
It's just a number, and I really think it's all about how we treat ourselves. Because if we treat ourselves badly, if we consider ourselves older people, and that's how we're gonna get. Also it's all in our heads too, because if you believe that you're old, you're gonna act, you're gonna look old. I don't want to get old that fast. I mean, we all are aging. I am aging too. I just don't want to be old in this meaning of not being able to do things
Mhm.
inside. Not usually I feel like 25, and I have to remind myself when I walk past the mirror and I walk back. It's like, wait a sec. Oh, it's me. It's like in the morning, my face is puffy, my hair is all over. Like, oh, who's this? Oh, it's me. I gotta remind myself. Oh, yeah, you're gonna be 50. So it's like I don't wanna believe it, but, it's I think, okay, that's a number. But after a long shift at work, yeah, I feel like 100, and I just wanna go to sleep. So, yeah, I do feel it. But then when I get rested in the morning, it's like, "Ah, I'm 20 again."
Mhm.
So, I think we cannot, let ourselves to to feel like, we are getting old, and that's how we have to act. I think it's in our heads, so
Okay, I like
I agree.
this. I do try to tell myself when I cold plunge that I'm actually getting younger every minute I spend in the cold plunge. But I like that, Justina, and thank you for pointing that out, that age is just a number, and that's part of the fun. I mean, you obviously are just like an amazing example of that. You're still doing things that a 20-year-old couldn't do, like, so many people hold themselves back and you don't, and so I just think you're a big inspiration on that.
Thanks so much. I'm just a kid, older kid playing in the woods. As I told you, that's how I consider myself. And I feel like I don't want to give up this fun because that's what I like. I love going to the woods. I love running through the woods. I'm like a little kid looking at the green trees, and I was like, "Oh, look at this flower." And that's why I run, because I love
Mhm.
the nature, and I feel like, wow, I'm home. I can be like a little kid. So, yeah, that's why I
I
run,
love
because
it.
I love looking at the sun and trees and the birds, and just like a
Mhm.
kid.
I love that so much. I hope I'm that way forever.
Alright, Megan, did you have anything this week while running? I mean, you did get your awesome long run in with no pain.
I did. I did today, and I was very satisfied. I didn't feel as fit as I think a normal mileage like that would have felt in the past, but the whole point of the run was to see how the calf felt, to see how the injury was recovering and feeling good, and so that was my I went out there with that mindset where it didn't matter how good the run felt physically as far as, like, my fitness, and it didn't matter the pace, and it didn't matter all those things didn't matter. I just wanted to really gauge my calf muscle and how that felt so that I would have some confidence in a bigger chunk of miles going into Vermont, and so that was a complete success. So and that was this morning, and then while running is also from this morning. So my friend and I, Chris, we went to the Abilene State Park, which is in, maybe 20-minute drive from us. And so he came out and ran with me because he'll be pacing me at Vermont for the last 30 miles. And so he came out and ran with me this morning. And um, we went out very early, and it's here in Texas, Justina, it's very hot and very humid, like disgustingly humid. I think it was the humidity when we started was 93%. And it was just the air was thick, it was gross. But we started on our trail, and there are all these little single track trails around Abilene, and there was one point where I was up in front, and I came to, like, a part in the trail, and I just saw this, giant spider web in front of me, and I'm telling you, the spider on the inside was, like, this big. It was the biggest spider I have ever other than, like, a tarantula, it was the biggest spider that I've seen, like, in the wild running before, and it stopped me dead in my tracks because it was face level, and I was so close to running through this thing, and it gave me, like, the heebie-jeebies, like, I panicked, and I was like, "This if this is gonna be how this entire run is, like, dodging these monster Godzilla spiders, then this is gonna be a long run for sure." But I just thought that was the only one that when we ran you run through all sorts of, like, little ones, but that spider was the easily the biggest spider in the wild that I've seen, so
Ew.
but we avoided it, so that was also a success of the run.
Was it one of
But
those they're called, like, golden orb spiders? They're huge, and you can see, like, their web is so thick, it feels like the web is almost like hair, it's so thick.
I the web was thick enough that I like, saw it visibly there. Well, first I saw the spider because the spider was so big, and
Is it,
then
like,
I saw
black with kind of some yellow gold on it?
it the only thing I remember about it is it had this giant circle, like, butt, if that makes
Yeah,
sense, like, you know what I'm talking about? This, like,
yeah.
giant bubble on its back, like, it looked like a giant butt, like, off the end. So I don't know what kind of I have no idea what kind of spider it was, the big
Well.
kind the big kind, but it was enough to, um I was in check for the rest of the run. I'll zone out and I'll just look and see watch the trees, like, look for things, but I was so zoned in on the trail and spider webs after that point that that did it for me. That spider ruined my trail runs at that park. I will always be scarred.
That's why you wanna be the first one on the trail.
Yeah.
I never want
Mountain
to be the first
bikers
one.
go by first.
Exactly, exactly, but if this was early, we started at 6:30, so we were definitely the first ones out there, but
Yuck.
that was my experience this morning, so but we avoided it, so, um, but yeah, so I guess, let's just hop right into talking with you, Justina, about again, I guess the reason that we have you here is to talk about Vermont 100. So, the people that have been listening so far, they know that that's my next race coming up in 2 weeks from yeah, so a little under 2 weeks now because it's Monday. Um, and you ran the Vermont in 2023, 24,
24, yeah, last year. Mhm.
4, and you were 2nd female, correct?
Yes, yes.
Your time was what was your time on that?
It was like
Do you remember?
1746, something like
Which
that.
is
Something like that, 1746,
fantastic,
so
which is fantastic. Um, so so we just wanted to kind of pick your brain a little bit about the race and how it went for you, because I know you've done other 100 milers before that, right? That
Mhm.
was, one of how many have you done? Do you know how many 100 milers that you've done?
I don't count them. I don't not too many, actually. I think I did
Yeah.
6 or 7, maybe
I
8.
was gonna say 6
I don't
or
know,
7, I think, from what I've
something like that.
seen, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then so Vermont was last year. Just I guess first, like, how did that compare, do you think, to some of your other 100 milers, like, the experience in general?
Vernon was very runnable. So, like, in comparison to Grindstone that I did, like, in 2018, the Eastern States, or Massanutten 100, this one is runnable from the beginning to the end. The trace sections are there, but they are not long. So you mostly run on roads, and there was like country roads. So you can just run for entire time, and no technicality to it. So uh, it's very nice. So you can actually have a very fast 100 miler doing Vermont. Yeah. So you can, what time did I go? Yeah, so 17. Yeah, so you can be done much faster than any other races,
No,
and then
other than
still
that.
take a good night's sleep. And it ends by in this area where they have this little pond, so you can jump in the water to get washed and then go to
Oh,
sleep. Yes, yes,
ooh, that's
it's really
very
nice.
well, I think that is has that been your fastest 100 miler?
Yes, because all the other ones too, they were more technical with a lot of elevation. So uh, the other ones, um, included a lot of hiking, a lot of climbing, things like
Okay.
this, and this one did not. So it's very runnable, it's pleasant. It is gonna be hot, so you probably wanna
Yeah.
spray yourself with some sunscreen and yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, but I mean, Vermont has like that elevation gain is pretty good too. I'd probably different. I think it's more slow,
It's
gradual,
a
correct?
rolling hills, so you're not really feeling those climbs because
Okay.
yeah, and they are on the even road. Like you don't have any rocks. You don't
Mhm.
have to constantly navigate and and watch your step. You can just zone out and run.
Yeah.
And all those other ones in the woods, you really have to be present and keep an eye on the markers so you don't make a wrong turn. And this one is it's very good to it's marked very well. There are a lot of
So
people. You're
yeah.
not gonna really get lost, so you don't have to worry. So because sometimes there's this additional stress. Oh shoot, I gotta pay attention because I can make a wrong turn, and that happens all the time to everyone that you
Mhm.
can make a wrong turn and then you're gonna realize sooner or later you're not there. You have to come back, and some people lose a lot of time. Like I lost that one turn that I made was 2 miles, and then added to my other um, you know um, issues with not having a lamp at night. So you can lose a lot of time, but with this one you will not. So you should enjoy the entire run.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
horses, you're gonna see horses because Vermont includes their race for horses, and it's been
Mhm.
it's been going on for a long time. So it's one of the
Yeah.
oldest. The Old Dominion, Western states, of course, and then Vermont are one of the oldest 100 milers in this country. So a lot of
Yeah.
history.
That's part of what drew me to it. I liked that it still very much follows the old school feel too. So the rules there, the way they run things, everything just seems like they have tradition and they continue to follow it despite like some of the newer technologies and things like that. So, for example, like when you did Vermont, did um they had the rule with no polls and no music, right?
Mhm.
Did they have that for you
I,
too?
I I believe so, but you wouldn't even use the poles. Like you don't need them because you're not doing any big climbs.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so that's I very much like Vermont for that reason that, and the whole, I guess, like, charity-oriented
mhm.
process behind it because they raise a lot of money for Vermont Adaptive,
Yes,
which
yes.
is which all the money from the race, I believe, goes to funding Vermont Adaptive, which, for people listening, they raise money for, adaptive athletes, so, athletes that have any sort of physical impairments or disabilities or even like learning disabilities. It's that they adapt sports, any sports. They'll do skiing and
Mhm.
snowboarding and like all these sports, and they'll adapt them so that those athletes can also participate in the sport, which is so cool.
Right.
Um, and so that was another reason it's the that I was very interested in Vermont as well. So that's but but anyway, so bring us kind of through. Did you camp there the night before?
Yes, I did. So most people camp there. I think it's a great idea. There's a huge field, and a lot of people bring their tents. So it's awesome to come alongside other people. I actually slept in my van. I have this work van. This is the best investment I've ever made 4 years ago. I bought a work van, the regular white work van, used Nissan NV200, and that same week, I took it to Laurel Highlands. I put the mattress inside and just slept. It was
Mm.
great. So since that time, I added little, um, um, like I have a piece of wood there that is elevated, and then I put a full size memory foam and mattress. Just bought from Overstock, whatever they had, and oh my goodness, it's the most comfortable thing. Just I have a fan. I can charge the fan when as I drive to the location, and then for the whole night, it's gonna be cooling me down at night. It's the best sleep. So I always have a tent just in case, and, if I feel like sleeping in a van or if it's raining, that's how I'm gonna sleep, but it's awesome. So I take this van to every race, a local race, unless I go, far away to, like,
Mhm.
let's say to, West Coast, but I take my van everywhere, and I've been it's paid off. It's paid off. So I encourage anyone, just purchase a van and sleep in your van. It's great. You can go to remote places where you cannot find any hotels or motels, and you can just have a great um, sleep night in the middle of
All
the
right.
woods.
Justina, you're gonna have to share some pictures of your van with us. I wanna see it.
Yeah.
Yes, I can, yeah, I love it. Oh, actually, when I purchased it, 4 years ago, my second, trip after the Laurel Highlands, which is quite local, it's like only, 5 hours away, I drove across the country to, Speed Goat, 50K in Utah. So drove, and I think it was only like 8-day trip, 7 or 8-day trip because I didn't have many days off, at that time, so from work. So I drove from Pennsylvania all the way to Utah. After the race, I turned around and saw her, but I was coming back through Nebraska, through Wyoming. I was going through those country fields, just full of sunflowers for miles and miles. Sometimes I didn't know, like, where am I? I know I'm going towards home. Just took my time coming back, but it was the best trip across the country in my van.
Yeah, you
I
can just
cook
pull
there. Mhm. So I at the truck stops, they have pots. You can connect the pots to your cigarette lighter, and as you drive, that pot is cooking your meal. So I had my oatmeal, it was all homemade oatmeal. I had my rice with beans and veggies. The next stop, okay, I'm throwing this in, a can of this, a can of this, some rice, and everything
Uh-huh.
cooked. And I had fresh meals for entire time.
That
So it's the best.
that's so cool. I think you just influenced me to get a van.
Yeah, it's
Megan and
perfect.
I are always influencing, each other to buy things on here, and so now we need vans.
My husband's gonna come home, I'm gonna be like, "Hey, babe, we're gonna get a
Dude,
van."
your husband will be about that. He's like your Megan's husband is very supportive, and so I'm sure she'll have a van in the next couple days.
I will. I'm gonna be looking on the internet right when we get off there. That's cool. That's very cool. Okay, so yeah, so at Vermont, they have it is very remote where the start, finish line. So, if
Wait,
you
so
do wanna get
what's your plan, Megan? Are you planning
I
to camp out there?
I have a hotel, 'cause I'm flying into New Jersey on Thursday. The race is Saturday morning at, like, 4 AM. It starts very early, but I'm flying into New Jersey Thursday because that's where I'm from, and so I'm staying overnight, and then Friday morning, I'm driving with my mom and we're gonna pick up Chris on the way there, but since I have my mom with me and everything, the camping just doesn't really make sense, and I guess I'm a little, like, bougie in this sense because I like having a bathroom, a fully stocked, like, bathroom, comfortable bathroom the morning of races. I don't know, I like just being able to, like, have that privacy and that time if I need it to because everybody knows, like, the whole, like, race morning, it can get, like, hectic and nervous, and there's something about just having a bathroom that's just mine and personal. I don't know what it is, but so I would love to camp there, but there's part of me that's like, "Well, what if, like, what are the restroom
But
situations and what's all that?" And that scares
did you
me.
camp at Palo Duro where we met?
No,
Oh,
no,
look at
I
you,
had a
you are
hotel.
bougie. Alright, well,
No,
your
I had a
van is gonna have to be
hotel.
like one of
Like,
those.
don't get me wrong, I look for the cheap hotels, like, I'm not paying a whole lot of money. I'll look for, like, the, like, 7-star
Just give it
cheaper.
to us, Megan. You'll be camping or in your van soon enough.
Believe me, I want to, I love camping. I love camping itself, but something about the morning before a race,
Okay.
I think I might have to, like, do it once or twice for a not very important race to just, like, show myself that it's gonna be fine,
Yeah.
you know?
You
Anyway anyway,
can
so yeah, so Vermont is very remote, so hotels are, like, 30 minutes away, if you want a hotel. But like you said, a lot of people camp. So bring us through like the morning of that race. So you start is very early, right? Like 4 a.m. And then so how did start go for you? Like for the first like little bit of the race, kind of bring us through. Did you have strategy going into it? Were you just there to have fun? Like how was your mindset going into it?
Yeah, so my goal is always to enjoy it. If it gets too hard, I'm just gonna slow down and I'm gonna keep the pace fast enough to be able to finish. But I'm competitive and I don't want to slow too much. So I never go too fast. I'm very conservative. So I pretty much know how fast I wanna go and what my goal would be. So I try to keep that pace. Of course, every mile is gonna be different depending on the elevation. So yeah, I can keep the same pace for a long time, and then of course the last 30 miles is always a problem. You gotta be smart. You gotta make sure you eat to be able to finish. And yeah, I usually this is when I slow down, but I'm motivated to usually to finish. With this race, it definitely the first 20, 30 miles, they just go fast. You just keep rolling with people. A lot of people you're gonna see for a long time, and it's easy. It's and then the day starts, and you see everything, the beautiful Vermont landscapes. So it's gorgeous, and later on, yes, towards the evening time, then you're gonna be more tired. But definitely, if you have a pacer, that's a good time. I think that you said 30 miles. Yeah, I think that's how I had like for last 27 miles or 30 miles, and my pacer did push me. Said, "Come on!" And there was a hill, and I'm like, I'm walking, but the hill is not big. And she said, why are you walking? It's not a hill." Oh, to me, it's a hill. But
Mhm.
yeah, uh, that race, I think Lila, she was 21, I think, last year. So she went very fast with the winner of the race. The winner, she forgot her name, but she won the race overall. They went very fast. Like their first miles were like 7-minute miles, and so I never go fast. I just keep my pace, and I caught up with Lila at about 70 miles. I was like, wow. Wow, she must have slowed down, but so I I relaxed too much later on. I knew like I'm second now. I just want to finish. And the last 200 yards before the finish line, when you go through the chute, those chutes with
Mhm.
lights in the middle of the night, and I'm going, and my pacer says, "Go!" And I'm like, "What's going on?" And here
Mhm.
somebody is just passing me by sprinting to the finish line. I'm thinking, Lila. So I'm going, I'm sprinting. So we actually sprinted to the finish line. So maybe by inch I won, but I think that was a tie. She was so fast. She
Mhm.
caught up to me. She got second wins, and we finished together. I mean, yeah, by a nose. So yeah, don't slow down too much, and definitely keep your eye on people coming, for finishing. Because what if somebody takes you right before the finish line? I mean, that is terrible. When you go strong, and then you kind of ease up, and somebody passes you right before finish line. That's terrible.
Mhm.
So so no, but the
It
Vermont is a beautiful race, so you're gonna enjoy
yeah.
it.
Yeah, I think I was listening to a podcast where they were interviewing Lila last year, right after Vermont. So right after the race finished, another podcast was interviewing her, and she had mentioned that sprint to the finish, and she was talking about that. So I knew to expect that, but I didn't know how close. So you're saying like right in the chute.
Yes, we were. I mean, we were by the head, by the nose. I don't know. To me, we were together, but I really did not expect anybody to be sprinting at the finish line. And I right away, my adrenaline went up. I was like, oh, I cannot
Mhm.
let this happen. So we were sprinting for 200 yards
Yeah.
after 100 miles.
Oh,
Oh my
So
god.
I think it would have been 5 minute mile if we added all up.
Oh my god.
It was that fast, but yeah.
You know,
Wow.
I'm just thinking that might have actually been really smart of Lila, because let's say you come up on somebody with a couple miles left. It might be hard, like, if they know you're there and you're there, you're both it's gonna be the person who really does have more left in the tank who wins, but if you wait just till a tiny sprint, like, she took you by surprise. She had kind of some advantages going into that sprint off
Mm.
because she was already had that momentum behind her built up and then, passing you, and then you didn't have to hold on. She didn't think, "Oh, I have to hold on to this for 2 more miles or 3 more miles," like, that would be very difficult, but it's just like, "Oh, if I can just sprint this last little bit and maybe get her." That's not the worst strategy. She was smart.
Yeah.
'Cause maybe, over the long run, she would might have not been able to do that, but she could do it for just a short period of time, so that was very dramatic
Yeah.
and very exciting. Well, I wonder if anybody got footage of that. Do you know, Justina, if anybody was able to post footage of
I
that
don't
sprint out?
know. Did not find anything, but yeah, I'm telling you, it was pretty
Ah,
much by split second. So,
Yeah. It would be fun to watch. If somebody out there listening has that footage, send it to us. Um, but okay, so that's the end. So we'll rewind a little bit. You said the course was very runnable. You felt very good for a lot of it, and then you mentioned at mile 30. So what happened? Was that your low point?
70. So no, no, no. So pretty much at
What
mile
about 30?
70, this is when I start feeling it. So I usually a bit, and there's more periods of walking, of course, than running, if it's up the hill. But yeah,
Mhm.
so yeah.
Okay, okay. So did you experience a point in the race that stood out as it being the most challenging, or was there a point in the race that was very, very challenging for you?
No,
Yeah.
not really, because the course
Mhm,
is pretty much the same throughout. Rolling hills. Even
mhm,
though at the end you finish in the woods, you go on trail, but
mhm,
there are no. I didn't have any challenges other than probably low tank, not having enough calories because I always have to force myself.
mhm.
So of course, throughout the year, I learned much more and I
Yeah.
implemented it. So I'm smarter because we learn all our lives. So yeah. So the next race, I'm definitely gonna be smarter. But
To learn
Vermont
more.
100 miler did not have any challenging moments for me, but also course is predictable. You're not gonna experience any um, abrupt change in course. So from the
Okay, yeah,
beginning
so there
to the end, it's
and
runnable and not much different from from the beginning.
yeah, yeah. That's really great that you didn't experience challenges. A lot of times you'll hear people talk about how they because maybe they're eating not eating enough or low on calories or whatever it is, and they'll get a bonking where they, get really low, So that's good that even then that you were still able to, like, feel pretty good. Like, considering, that's
Mm.
yeah, that's awesome. So you said it's pretty predictable, so there wasn't anything that you experienced that, like, threw you off or you weren't expecting, it was just,
Hmm.
like, pretty straightforward?
Yeah, pretty steady, but definitely, it's summer, it's gonna be hot and most likely very humid. So just make sure that you drink a lot of fluids
Mhm.
and take your salt. So carbs, salt, and fluid, the most important. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it is, I'm curious how it'll feel compared to here in Texas. So in Texas, the temperature is hotter, but that East Coast humidity, I know
mm,
is a little different. Well, Kelly, you're down in Houston, which is very
mm,
humid.
yes.
So, the East Coast humidity, I feel like, is very similar to that feeling.
Yeah, and I lived on Long Island for several years and in Baltimore, so I've lived on the East Coast for several
Yeah.
years, and, um, I don't know, I think Houston's got it beat. Just add heat to that humidity, and there's
Mhm,
it's a powerful combination.
mhm.
But I
Yeah.
think, yeah, I mean, I think you'll do fine. It sounds like a great race. I mean, Vermont 100 is a great race to go out and run fast and just enjoy some
Mhm.
butter country roads, and I haven't, ran a race quite like that. I've ran some pretty flat races, but that had, like, maybe some more technical footing as well, and it sounds nice just to kind of hit some easy country roads and kind of flow and zone out and just enjoy, like, worry less about where your foot is landing and be able to look around a little bit more, so, sounds like a wonderful race. I'm excited for you, Megan. It's
Mhm.
coming up,
Yeah.
and Justyna, you have a race coming up as well. Your next race is the Rim to River, is that right?
So this one is in October. Yes, a 100 miler in West Virginia. But next month I'm doing Eastern States again. So it's gonna be my
Oh,
third time at Eastern States. So yeah,
okay.
yes.
Don't get your headlamp wet.
No, I'm gonna have. I think I'm gonna purchase more, so I have a backup because there is a crossing. They changed the course 2 years ago. So a year ago, they had to cancel the day before the race because of the storms and flooding. Just like Vermont was canceled 2 years ago, Eastern States was canceled last year. Um, there is a section now that you have to cross through the creek, but it's like a small river. It's not very it's not narrow. It's quite wide, and you have to hold on to the rope. And I'm a very short person. I'm only 5 feet, so so
Oh,
I go
wow.
deeper. So my vest was completely submerged. So everything that was there got wet, and I I always try to keep even a small lamp in my vest no matter what, because I don't know whatever I kind of get delusional and get lost somewhere in the woods. I want to have everything in my vest. So I had my lamp there, and yeah, that was like the good one. And I did not get this to work. It was only giving me a dim light. Very couldn't see anything. So yes, Eastern States. I'm definitely gonna be prepared for this one. And every aid station, I mean every drop back, I'm gonna have my lamp. And my gels, of
Mhm.
course, because I think eating is not gonna be enough for me. I have a hard time chewing, just eating. But of course, I have to force myself. But the gels, it's so much easier. It's pricey when you wanna buy enough gels for entire 100 miler, but so these ones, I'm telling you, it's only $2 per gel, 50 grams of carbs, 200 calories for $2. That's a great,
Yeah,
yeah.
I've tried those the Carb Fuel. I really like them as well, so, um, you'll have to let us know. We'll be excited for you to run Eastern States, and we'll be cheering for you, and you'll have to let us know how all the fueling
Yeah,
goes
thanks.
and how the race
Yeah.
goes.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing everything with Vermont, and I'm excited to follow along. So Eastern States is coming up, and then the month later you have another 100.
Yeah, so it's gonna be 2 months later in October. So Eastern States is in August, and Rim to River is in August and then October. hmm
Oh, okay, okay.
So
Well, we're definitely gonna be following along with you.
thanks. Yeah,
And thank you for sharing.
thank you. You're welcome. So, and yeah, good luck, Megan, at your upcoming Vermont in 2 weeks. So enjoy it.
Thank
Definitely
you.
drink a lot of fluids.
I will, I will,
Awesome.
I will keep that in mind, and I will be channeling my inner Justina to try to make it through this race.
But remember, it's all in your head. So
All in your
keep
head.
your head down.
So, hey, Justina, before we jump off, again, I wanna thank you as well. It's just been a treat to have you on here and just inspiring for me. I'm 43, turning 44, and so I'm just behind you a little ways, but I look to runners like you to, like, remind myself that I can do this and I can still be competitive and I can hang in there and keep going and keep having fun the way that I like to. Um, but I also asked you if you, had a quote or wanted to share an inspirational quote, something that means something to you before we call it a day.
Yeah, so my one of my favorite quotes is by this guy John Assaraf. The comfort is a beautiful place, but nothing ever uh, grows there. So basically, we all like comfort zone, right? We don't like to push ourselves. However, if we don't get to um, challenge ourselves and learn and get to places we want to get. So whatever you do in life could be running, but could be something else. If you just stay where you are and you don't push yourself to achieve new goals, you're just gonna stay there. Nothing is gonna change. So, for example, you're running the race and you feel like, oh, I don't wanna, I just wanna quit. But yeah, if you give in, you're not gonna learn something new. You gotta constantly put yourself out of your comfort zone. If you wanna learn, achieve new goals, get to new places, and push your limits, you have to tell yourself that nothing is gonna improve, nothing is gonna change for better if you are gonna stay where you are. So you just gotta constantly push yourself. So
That's really great. And I love that one too. I think I've heard that one before too, and I very much like it because it is. I'm trying to rewire my brain a little bit to embrace the uncomfortable parts. So I'm almost looking forward to them, like not necessarily looking forward, but expecting them to happen during the race. Like I'm expecting to hit low points at certain mileages or for climbs. Like I'm trying to mentally prepare myself for like with the 30 miles left where I'll be walking more, how to rewire my brain to know that those are gonna be very challenging moments or a couple miles for me, and to embrace it and almost be like, "This is making me better," like, as I'm doing it, to rework the negative thoughts that can sometimes enter your brain when you're challenging yourself, and that's the growth that comes from that is like the pro, right? That's
Yeah,
the
and you
point.
could take that into
Right.
your next race, and
Mhm.
I mean, as I think most runners, long distance runners, we apply what we learn in running to our the rest of our life, like the real daily life, and
Mhm.
sometimes that lesson is hard because when I'm running or doing a long race, like, I chose to do that, and for me, that's exciting, the learning is exciting, the growing is exciting, but in real life, sometimes you have really hard things happen that you don't choose or that you don't want. But I think
Mhm.
having that same attitude, even if it's maybe kinda something you did not sign up for,
Mhm.
that if you still have that attitude of like, "Hey, this is difficult, but I can learn and I can grow, and this is actually can make me a better person,"
Mhm.
um, I think that that attitude helps in real life as well, a lot, rather than getting frustrated and mad that you have to go through a challenging period or deal with a difficult relationship. It's actually something that can make you grow and if you do it right, become better, become a better person.
Mhm. Yeah. I feel like it's easier to get through those too. They don't seem so big. They don't seem, yeah, like it almost makes problems that you experience daily in life, um, not seem so big and scary because you give yourself confidence. I feel like that's a lot of ultra running too. When you do these big mileage races and things, you develop this confidence in your abilities and who you are as a person in these things. So when you do tackle everyday life difficulties and problems and situations, it does. You've built this confidence. You've built yourself to be a better person, to be able to handle situations differently, brainstorm, have plan A, B, C, D, and E to get through stuff. It's so I yeah, I totally agree with that too.
yep, you just have to tell yourself, when things get tough, especially in the race, just instead of thinking about this pain because you're gonna be hurting, right, physically and mentally, but you gotta tell yourself that, you know, just I'm getting comfortable with this discomfort. This is not pain. This is just discomfort. Discomfort. That's
Mhm,
all you have to tell yourself. This is discomfort, and I have to be comfortable with this, and it's gonna pass. Just gotta
mhm.
talk to yourself and don't let your thoughts to spiral down and put you in a hole. That's it. But
Mhm.
yeah.
That's great advice. It's a good quote.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Justina, for being here with
You're
us.
welcome. Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much
all that
as
you've
well.
shared, and thanks, Megan, for being here too.
Thank you both. Have a great day.